Good evening and welcome to Harper's Sports Talk. I'm Jay Harper, your host. Joining me this week is the coach of Thornton Academy boys basketball team, Marc Gagne. Marc, after last year's 9-9 season, an incredible year for the Trojans, but not quite making the playoffs, they find themselves at 5-3 and right now ranked number 4 in the heel point standings. It's been some 20 years since the Trojans have made the playoffs, and the line you used last week when you ran a clinic for the 8th grade boys up at the middle school, I just loved. And it just puts things into perspective that you had to teach the kids the way to Portland because it's been so long since they've been there. But this year you're hoping to make the playoffs and looking real good right now.
We got some people who I think are picking up on the directions all right. You know, we got some good seniors, Craig and Jay Lowe and Brent Raymond, and we're working to get there. And it's been a long time, and we're hoping that this is the year that we finally get there.
Now, the kids, right off the bat, when we covered the Bonnie Eagle game, it was very apparent that these guys had worked very hard in the off-season, Jay Lowe especially. I mean, his improvement has been immense, but every kid has really taken their game up 2, maybe 3 notches, and it's quite phenomenal. What really drove them? Did the kids just take it upon themselves, or did they realize from last year's success that they could do something?
You got to get some feedback. You got to get some reward, and we came close. You know, we were in some games that maybe could have got us there, and you also got to credit some of the kids who have gone on and graduated before they didn't quite make it. Christian Summer and Jay Agresti and Matt Cook and Shea Demons, those kids, Guy Angelier, all worked hard, and so that ethic of working hard, I think, is carried over. Plus, the athletes at Thornton work hard. But we decided that we were going to do some things this summer. We played, and went to a team camp down at BU, and participation was great. I mean, these kids were in there working hard. They played it. You know, sometimes it was really hot in July, but they found themselves in the gym, and you know, that's the thing you have to do if you're going to go that extra level.
And of course, the height this year is something you haven't seen at Thornton in quite some time. Low at 6'6", and Anthopoulos and LeBlanc 6'4". Mm-hmm. I mean, you got some good height in the front line.
Yeah, you know, we try to use our height, Steve Nix, Anthopoulos, and Jay, and Matt LeBlanc, and then hopefully when Craig gets back to where we think he can be, he's, I don't think, right there right now, although he's really done a great job of rehabbing himself, and we could probably shoot the ball a little bit better, Matty and Kirk Purvis and some people on the outside, and then we'll probably have a better mix going at the same time. But you're right, I mean, it's nice to be able to look up to some of those guys as opposed to looking at my level. I'll look up anytime. I'll take that.
Now, you started off the season with 2 great wins, Bonnie Eagle and Portland, very nice 2-0, and then you hit a rough spot there with losses to Biddeford and Westbrook. Was there any time in that stretch that you panicked or the team started to panic?
Well, you know, you're always going back and trying to look at it, but you don't want to overdo it either at the same time. We just didn't shoot well in the Westbrook game, and that's something that you got to live with. I mean, nobody says, well, I want to go out there and miss my 10 shots of that. And we had good shots, and that's the thing that you'd worry about if we didn't have the good shots. So in the Westbrook game, it was a matter of having the shots, and they just didn't fall for us, and plus we didn't do a great job at the line that night. And so that combination will usually kill you. And against Biddeford, you know, it's one of those things. They were there, and Biddeford showed you that that wasn't a real fluke because of the way they've been playing. And you know, they shoot the ball well. They shot well that night, and playing them over there was what we had did to them at the end of the year last year. So it's one of those things, and you know, our kids get a chance to play them again, and we'll see what happens then.
And now you've been in a couple of close games this year, and to your credit, you won both of the real close games. Up at EL, an away game, a very physical game, and a lot of people here on CTV 30 saw that one. We were there for that one, 67-65, and then last night, of course, the great one-point victory over Cheverus, 59-58, the first time in 17 years that a Thornton team has beaten Cheverus. The kids hang in there, and they have a lot of poise. Do you think that carries over from football and just the athletes that they are?
I think it's a combination of the sport that they play. Plus, last year we were into some tight games, and you know, that old cliche of you got to learn how to win. I think there maybe was a couple of games last year where it could have gone either way. You know, at South Portland it was tough, and that was a tough one. We lost the Bonnie Eagle game last year. Jay was in that one, Craig, Matty, LeBlanc, those kids. We lost at Westbrook in a real tough ball game. Excuse me. And I think good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from lousy judgment, or one of those types of things. So it pays off, And plus they put a lot of time in playing some games in the summertime, and eventually you got to build on that. And I think that it's nice to see that you're probably not playing the best you can, but you're winning the close ball game.
Ranked number 4 right now, as we said. That's just great to see, and it's been so long since we've seen the Thornton team up that high. But looking ahead at the schedule, you got Massabesic Friday night, and then the following week, I believe it's Sanford Lewiston.
Right.
Those are teams right there that you can and should beat Massabesic, but then Sanford Lewiston, those are going to be real challenges for you, and you'd like to see at least one of those on your side.
Yeah. What I try to tell our players, and I try to tell myself too, because you really don't want to look too much down the road. You got to take care of yourself. You got to look at one game at a time, and not have any regrets. And again, that's one of those things. You know who's coming, but if you don't take care of what you're supposed to take care of, then that becomes bigger of a factor, or more of a factor, and you put more pressure on yourself. And you can only play one game at a time, so you might as well just take a look at one game at a time, and try to improve. And so all we're thinking about right now is Massabesic, and they're not a bad club.
As the season goes on, are there teams down the road that, like a South Poland or whatever, do you start thinking possibly turning time and where you'll match up in these teams if you can compete with them?
I think what you try to do is say, well, if things go right and we make the tournament, and if you see these people again, you want to at least have your kids say, we can play with these people. That's one thing that you want to do. Right now, we didn't put on a good show against Deering, and obviously Biddeford played us and beat us, and Westbrook played us and beat us, and those are teams that you have to worry about. But like I said, I think that if you see your team improve on the things that didn't go real well in those ball games, we shot better from the line last night. That hurt us when we played Westbrook. And you like those type of things. And like I said, you look at those. Okay, our kids are looking at it. I mean, they read the newspaper, watch things, and they look at the top 10 ranking or whatever, because that's the fun of being a high school athlete, too, at the same time. And you're just hoping that when your time comes, that you're prepared enough to deal with what they're going to play against you.
Looking at this year's team, there's a nice mix of inside and outside play. And I never thought I'd say this, but a Thornton team, the team, I'd like to see the ball go inside more often than it actually does, because Xanthopoulos and J-Lo both get excellent position in the low post, and 90% of the time when they get the ball down there, they either score or get fouled. I mean, I know there's a few layups being missed. We saw a few of those last night, some tough situations, but have you had problems with the guards getting it into them enough?
Well, you don't want to really put your offense all in one situation, one location. And I think anybody who's seen us play knows that we start our offense by going inside, and then but Stephen gets doubled down pretty quickly, and J-Lo does a nice job when he gets the ball down in low. And what we're trying to do is start our offense, bring the ball in, and then reverse it back outside. And we're getting better at it. Matt LeBlanc was a JV player last year and hasn't had that much. He played a lot during the summer. He's a good athlete, but you need that game experience. Kirk Purvis came in and gave us great 2 games when Negresti wasn't playing, and Craig's working his way back, and Brent Raymond's doing a nice job on the perimeter, and Todd Vance is coming in and giving us good quality minutes. Plus the 2 guys inside, Jay and Stephen, they're as good as 2 combinations as Thornton's had for a long time. So we're trying to blend it. We're still, I don't think we've played our best basketball yet, and hopefully it'll be all working at one time. You still only have one ball, so you got to be careful what you're doing with it. That's
true. And Craig Negresti last night had 15 points and a little better, more poised out there, and he hit the outside shot when he had to, went inside, and he was hounded heavy by Fortier last night out front, hand checking him and stuff, and seems to respond a lot better.
It's a tribute to him and the orthopedic people, and to get him back. And to see him do what he's doing right now. He's worked hard, and he's had a lot of support from his teammates, and they've been patient. And everybody's been working hard to try to, because obviously he would have been really with Jay a big part of our team, and now he has to be a big part of our team. but he might not be there as quickly as he'd want to be. And I think you probably saw a little of that, and he was a little frustrated. I mean, a competitor is going to be like that. He wants to be right back right now, and sometimes you got to show a little patience. And I think he's getting there.
I think what you said too, the fact that how bad the injury was and what he's doing, I mean, it's just a tribute to him and the doctors, and you see the huge knee brace that he wears. I think maybe that might have been a part of him coming back, trying to get back so quickly and trying to do too much. And these kids had responded without him because the first 2 games they played without Greg and did a good job. And maybe that threw your sync off a little bit when he got back in.
Yeah, I think it's tough that anytime you change, it becomes a difficult thing. We went over to Biddeford, that was an emotional thing, and then the Westbrook game, we just did not click very well. And then Deering, I mean, we came out and gave them 28 points in the first period, and you can't do that to good ball clubs. I thought we played good defense last night, and that's going to be the key on how far we go. I think we'll be able to put the ball in the basket and score in our high 50s or 60s, but we got to keep people off the board. And if we can do that, then we'll be all right, I think.
And it's been tough because of the fact now you had a aggressive start last night, trying to reestablish his role,
sure.
And then you got to reestablish Kirk Purvis's role because he was starting and get him coming off the bench and giving you the quality when reversing it. So it's been an adjustment, and that's something a lot of the fans don't realize, that's a big part of the team, is getting them to all mesh and understand their roles and be able to do their roles when they get on the court.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, we've got some good kids. Jay Lowe is a great leader. He's a senior and knows what's going on. We got some real kids who are real coachable. It's a great coachable class, and they've got some great instruction. Jetty Newman had a freshman class last year when Dave Paquette was off in Saudi Arabia. And Dave and Jetty have done a great job with the young kids, and Vinny Emery does a great job with the JV players. And it takes a while to get people to understand the whole system and what's going on and that sort of thing. And we're fortunate to have some good coaches and some good players who I think I haven't played their best basketball, like I said. I think we're getting better, and we're working together as a team a little bit more.
Mentioning your underclassmen, looking ahead, you're going to lose a couple of great players, but you still got a great nucleus of juniors and sophomores to step up, and you got to be saying, hey, we're going to be good for a few years here.
We're happy with the people we see coming down. We got 2 sophomores on the club, Ryan Summer and Keith Shute, who we think are going to be good ball players. Todd Vance is back, Stephen Nexentopoulos, Matt LeBlanc, Kirk Purvis are back. I got some JV players. Keith Proto's starting to put the ball in the basket. Jerry Bakaram, Jeremy Soroyce. You don't want to leave anybody else just because you want to see him practicing. So if I didn't mention your name, I still want you to practice. The freshman team's working hard. We got some size down there, and we've lost some tough ball games. And we appreciate the effort. People like Dick Martin and Dick Pike are making it yourself, and because of the cut in the 8th grade and volunteer time. But that's what you got to do. You got to get kids to play, and it's with all the distractions, it's a little bit more difficult. Commitment isn't really the buzzword of the 90s, but we feel that we've got some good flow in our programs now. And it takes a lot of work, but it takes players.
All right, we're visiting with Marc Gagne, coach of the Thornton Academy boys basketball team, coming off a very emotional and exciting win last night over Cheverus, 59-58. First time in 17 years the Trojans have beaten Cheverus. We're going to take a pause, and when we come back, Marc and I will look over the highlights of last night's game. Stay tuned.
Since 1985, the Golden Rooster has been owned and operated by the Riziakis family, who continue to serve their valued customers with the same pride and dedication that the Golden Rooster has established throughout the years. They feature a wide menu selection of breakfast, lunch, and dinner specials, including their own traditional Greek dishes and pastries. The Riziakis family invites you to come in and relax in their casual atmosphere of courteous and friendly service with great family dining, located at 236 Main Street in Saco.
Welcome back to Harper's Sports Talk. Visiting with Marc Gagne, coach of Thornton Academy boys basketball team at 5-3 right now, ranked number 4 in Class A heel standings. Yes, you heard it right, number 4. And coming off a great emotional win last night, 59-58. And we were talking after the game, Marc, and you said last year you had me on your show. You had asked me to be on the week before, and it was right after that, the night before, that you beat Portland 63-62, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And that was one of your biggest wins up until maybe last night.
Yeah, well, like I told you last night, you can invite me on anytime. We have a big game, call me up, and I'll be glad to come on. Yeah, it was, we beat Portland last year, then I came on, and we kind of sputtered a little bit. Hopefully, we got over that jinx, and we'll keep on going now. But if I have a big ball game, I might ask you to call me back.
Be glad to oblige, too. It's great to visit with you. Take a look at some of those highlights last night. A tough game in a lot of ways because the game, you had so many chances to pull ahead. Here, Purvis with a nice steal in the inbound pass, and the unselfish play right there. Vance, back to Lowe. Lowe gets the bucket and the foul. There were so many chances for you guys to pull ahead in that second half. You tied the score up, and you'd come down the court, and you'd have the chance, and you'd throw it away, or the ball wouldn't fall for you. And it was, I mean, I'd like to go back and count them when we watch this back. But finally, a little bit later on, J-Lo finally got the lead for you guys, and it was a tough run.
We did make a couple bad decisions on some fast breaks, and when you're trying to beat a team to move up and that sort of thing, sometimes you're not as patient as you like to be, and maybe we could have reversed the ball a little bit more and not taken some openings that we did. But we shot better at the foul line, which was something that we had to do. And you're right, there were some chances there where people could have taken, we could have gone up by 6 one time. I think we were up by 4, and we could have gone, we extended it. But what they didn't do is when they were down by 4 or 5, they didn't decide to hang their heads and go the other way either. I mean, Trevor's a good ball club. I mean, they got some nice players, and they're going to be a team that will win some games for us, hopefully, down the road.
Moving on, if you take a look at it, that made it 48-46, the Purvis basket. That ended the third quarter. Going to the next highlight now, on a loose ball, J-Lo will get it and tie things back up at 50. Purvis on the miss, and then here you finally get one to go your way.
Yeah, J-Lo right there is around the basket, and then he's been a great offensive player for us this year. He's really done a nice job.
He's been your most consistent player all season, pretty much your leading scorer. And in each game, you look at the stats at the end of this time, and he's got 17, 19, 21 points.
Yeah, he does it in a real, quiet manner for the most part. Jay's going on to Bates. He's been accepted at Bates next year, and hopefully he'll continue his basketball career there. I think he can. He gets a little stronger, and you have to remember he missed his sophomore year with a back injury, and he is a real smart player, and he knows what's going on, and he's really done a nice job for us. Like you said, he worked hard in the summer to improve his game. He's done everything we've asked him to do, and he's really coming on as one of the better players in the SMAA. Looking
at our next highlight, this kid just had a great game, and it might have been a big factor later on when he sprained the ankle with 38 seconds to go. He couldn't come back. But here you see Xanthopoulos.
Yeah, finished the break.
Purvis to the X-Man.
Right.
And
Sanchez is one of the smoother athletes that I've seen.
Here's a perfect example how the night went. Purvis on the layup to get a lead. That was to get a lead, and it wouldn't fall. He made the great steal and drove in, but it wouldn't go down. And then Raymond had a chance for the loose ball, and he couldn't grab it either. You would hope that maybe on some other occasions that those little things get done, because when you play some other good teams down the road, Sanford and even Massabesic, who's, like I said, it's not a bad team, you want to finish those off. You don't want to give somebody a chance, and hopefully we'll be able to turn it up just a little bit more and get that done. Here we get a look at the next highlight, and here's where we finally take the lead. It's a pass inside to J-Lo, and J-Lo, as we said, the most consistent player, gets things accomplished for you guys. And finally the lead at 54-52.
We weren't quite sure how we wanted
there, we almost lost it.
Almost lost it again, and got the roll.
There it is.
Yeah. I was afraid when we did that cross-court pass that we'd lose that one, but he took a nice jump shot there.
Now here Raymond comes right back with a 2-point lead. He gets fouled, and he'll go to the line, and these are 2 big free throws. As you said, shot better.
He had 4 for 4 last night, and he made some big free throws down the end and played some good defense for us. He's starting to do some things we thought he could do for a long time.
And then you went back down the other end, and it was funny because Chris Rowe was shooting 2 free throws for them, and he'd been hitting them all night long. And I did my little ploy as a broadcaster that we all love to do. I said, he's been very, very consistent at the free throw line tonight, hoping that it would jinx him. And sure enough, he missed the first, and then he missed the second, too. And it stayed 56-52. But then, again, here we get a look at Sanchez. Misses, gets his own rebound, then he draws the foul.
which was questionable.
Yeah, it definitely was. And then he misses the free throw, bounces out to him, and Sanchez is going to get his 2 points one way or another, and there it is.
Yeah.
And
he's quick, and he took advantage. We didn't box him out real well there at the foul line. Something we'll probably work on this afternoon.
Yeah, and that was 56 all. Then you got a travel on Todd Vance, and then Lefevre goes in. We'll get another look here. Lefevre gets the nice pass from who else? Sanchez. And it's tied at 56 again, because they came right back.
I think there's about a minute and some change here.
Let's see what happens here.
Yeah. Trying to look for a good shot. We wanted to reverse the ball and try to beat him, sort of what we tried to do there. And there's
Xanthopoulos gets fouled. And as Steve did the last 2 times to the line, he goes to the line, makes 1 of 2. You know, you'd like to see a little better, but he did get 1. Gets you the lead again at 57-56. And then Sanchez to row. We get a look at the next highlight.
There's a steal. I think that's...
Okay, we're right down to the end here.
That's right. Here's the steal by Steven, and feed in by Kirk. Nice pass. And he made a great effort to get the ball again, get back up. Gets fouled here. I think there's 3 left, isn't there?
3 seconds left, and that's where Xanthopoulos made the steal, and then he got the ball. A nice entry pass by Purvis. Again, Purvis had some real nice passes down the stretch. I noticed that looking back at the highlights this afternoon. And Xanthopoulos goes to the line. We're tied at 58, 3 seconds to go. You know, and you're pretty much thinking, make 1 of 2, but you want to see that first one go in and then relieve the pressure. But Steve makes it real interesting.
That's what I told him after the ball game. If you're going to miss the second one for me. Don't miss either one of them. But Steve's been working. He knows that as a inside player, he's got to work hard on his free throws, and he spends a lot of time with it. And he's shot them fairly well.
He's got great form, real nice form.
Yeah.
And this says a lot right here, though. He stepped right back up, knew that he had to make it, and does it. And I mean, if you've never played the game of basketball, this is amazing pressure.
This is tough.
And there it is. I mean, that's dead in, nothing but net. Yeah. And then McGarry, you watch this throw up. He doesn't miss by that much. He's high on the backboard.
We're a little high on the backboard there, but we didn't want to foul, obviously, and then it was a big win for us because you know, the kids worked hard and they knew that the Chevrolet was ahead of them, and they was going to win some games this year. So
we get a look at you, Coach, walking by here in a minute. Well, there you go, coming in, surveying the troops.
You know, you're not quite sure after one of those. You want to make sure everybody gets recognized. And Coach Brewer does a great job with his Chevrolet team, and our kids really hung in there. That was a good win for us.
We talked about it. 38 seconds to go. Just before that, Sanchez hurt the ankle. He stayed in the game. He almost made an errant pass. He was trying to push off that ankle to make it, and then they said he can't stay out there, and he had to sit down. And that kind of threw Chevrolet off because they had no go-to guy anymore because Rowe had fouled out just prior to. Chris Rowe, their tall kid, had fouled out. So they were without their 2 key players in that last 38 seconds.
You know, you hate to see anybody get hurt, but without Sanchez on the floor, it put the ball in the hands of Manning and Fortier, and we thought that we could do a decent job of keeping them spread out. We didn't want to get hit with the long shot, and and Steve ends up stealing the basketball and coming down and just playing. And like I said, if we'd have hit some of the foul shots and shots we could have had before, probably shouldn't have come down to that, but it came down okay.
Now, when you made the steal, it was like 13 seconds as a steal came up. Now, as a coach, I know, I go over this all the time. Do you call the timeout or do you let them go? I mean, that's your decision right there.
I think it depends on your players and who you have on the floor and that sort of thing. I wasn't going to bring anybody else on the floor. I certainly wasn't going to do anything differently. We were going to try to spread it and go inside. And sometimes when you do that sort of thing, you have a tough time getting the ball inbound.
Inbounds,
and you might violate, some things might go wrong, and you get a flow going and that sort of thing. So in my situation, I just felt very comfortable in letting them go down and play. The worst would have happened would have been a tie. They were out without Sanchez.
Exactly.
And so I just thought I'd take my chances with what happened there, and it came out right.
It worked out because, looking at it, Xanthopoulos had the nice shot on the first entry, and it just wouldn't fall. But, boy, I mean, the strength and determination right back up to get his own rebound, and then, 3 kids are hitting him on the arm. But again, as you said, tied at 58. If you've been down by one, you might have thought about the timeout, but tied, the worst scenario, you go to overtime at home, they're two key players sitting down, and so you're in still good shape in that.
And you know, kids, we work on time and what's left in the ball game. We put in the clock out every practice and make sure that they're aware of the clock and the time, and I think that our kids do a decent job with it. And I mean, you don't want the kid holding the ball and the buzzer going off. So you know, as long as you practice it, and we do practice it every day or every other day for sure. And so I was confident that we'd make a good decision, or at least try to make a good decision. You got to live with that. So.
Late in the game, you had a lineup out there of Purvis and Agresti in the backcourt, and they seem to do all right back there together. That's something I don't think you've used that much this year, them at the same time?
There were a couple of ball games that I've started both of them and put Matt LeBlanc at the 3 spot and moved him up a little bit. And you know, you'll see those combinations because we do have some players who can swing it around, and you know, Brent Raymond can come out and play out front, and Matt can, and Kirk Purvis and Craig. So that combination of Kirk and Craig is a good combination, and so is Matt. So you'll be seeing more of those types of things. Like I said, I think that Kirk made some good plays for us coming down the stretch.
Looking at Class A this year, South Poland and Deering, obviously the two powerhouses in the league, they got something special going right now. Looking at the rest of it, how do you match up the rest strengths? Well,
you know, South Portland, you're taking a look at Ronnie and Biddeford really played them tough last night. It'd be interesting. They play Deering next Friday, so get a better look at that. The league, I think itself, is fairly balanced. Sanford's got a nice player. Most teams have got a nice player or two, and a nice complement with those players. Morse hasn't really played like Morse is capable of yet. I think their big man is sick or something's wrong with him. I've heard that sort of thing. It's pretty well even, I think. You know, even with the new guy over there at SP, they were going to have a good team, and you know, I don't know if they're invincible or not. You know, you get into the tournament, anything can happen. Biddeford showed that last year. I mean, Deering had some great talent, and sometimes the ball just goes your way as somebody else's way, and that's why it's high school sports, and it's great to. But you got to get there. You got to get into the tournament to you know, have a shot at it. And so I see a nice, you know, obviously South Portland and Deering right now out in front of the pack, and then people are going to be jockeying Chevers, ourselves, Biddeford, Sanford, Lewiston. Bonnie Eagle's got some good athletes. You know, it makes it interesting. I don't think those last 4 spots or 5 spots will be settled until that last week.
10 teams get in.
It'll be 9 this year.
9.
There's 17 in Class A,
okay.
And so there'll be 9 teams. 8 will play 9, and there'll be 8 seeded teams when they go to Civic Center.
And you know, as you saw last year, a 9-9 and a nice win over Portland still doesn't always get you in the tourney. It's a tough thing. You got to win some key games down the stretch.
That's why you know, we were happy to beat Chevers, because you got to beat the Cumberland County teams traditionally in the past, because they play each other. They have 2 shots at each other. We play them 1, and so the tournament points usually lie in the city schools as opposed to York County. Sanford always is worth, and Biddeford is, and Bonnie Eagle this year should be. So it might change a little bit, but traditionally, if you could get a win over Chevers, because you know they were good for always 8 wins or 9 wins a year, and Portland's good for that. You know, they're really starting to come on. You really, like I said, try to get them all, but winning the teams, beating teams that you think are going to get 8, 9, 10 wins for you, really important.
What about Lewiston? Do you have them home or away?
Both. So we play them each? Yeah, we play them twice this year. So we play them at their place first, and then they come down here, which is next week at their place, and then I think we take a week off, and then they come down.
And you have Sanford a couple times too?
We have Sanford twice. We haven't played Sanford yet. We have Sanford next Friday night, and then we finish our season with Sanford.
Kind of changed this year, huh?
Yeah, we traditionally have finished it with Biddeford, but we played Biddeford earlier this year, and we played Biddeford the last, I think it's the last game before vacation, or that weekend, somewhere in there. So, you know, right now, we're down, part of our schedule is like I said, we're looking, I mean, you know, I came on and say, we got to take this game. I mean, I know what the big picture is, but we really have to really just play one game at a time to take care of ourselves. And kids, like I said, they know the schedule too, more than anybody else probably. But I think that, like I said, being close last year helped us, and it's a tradition that you got to build on. You know, Shepherds expects to be in a tournament every year. Deering expects to be there every year. Portland expects to be there every year. For us, you got to build on that sort of thing and come close. I mean, you just can't talk about it. You got to come close. And last year helped.
Coach, as being the head coach of Thornton Academy, good news, bad news is you're setting a lot of records now and doing things for the first time in many years. I mean, that's good, but the bad news is you haven't done it so long, and you're trying to rebuild a program that has just been dormant for so many years. And I mean, just congratulations on a super start to the season. A good year last year, 9-9. It's the first 500 team in 20 years or so, and last night beating Shepherds, first time in 17 years. And to see Thornton, I got to get the paper when it comes out that shows Thornton at number 4 in the heel points, because that's just a pleasure to see. And we got a great hockey program this year with Thornton Academy, and had a great football season. Thornton really putting their sports program in perspective. I mean, I know they talk about student athlete, and they still stress that up at Thornton Academy, and I know in the past you've said that too, and the kids seem to be responding as good students and good athletes, and really developing a good bunch up there.
Well, you know, we've got very good administration. Mr. Stasio, Brad Leach is very supportive, always has been. We've got a great booster club. We've got a great physical plant. You know, we've got a great community. Parents behind us. We've got good crowds this year. A few people show up for our football games. You know, it's just a great atmosphere, and the basic line is the kid who's going to lace them up for you has always seemed to come through and give you his most, and you know, it's not all wins and losses, it's the effort, and you know, it's glad to see those kids come back, the Matty Cooks, the Tommy Langstaffs, and I think that's a big part of the whole thing, and you know, we're in a good situation. We're in a nice cycle, and Bob Riley's doing a great job, and they got a big game tonight, and
that's right.
You know, we had a good football season, and I think it's nice to see the student athlete Bates with J. Lo. Brent Raymond's going to go to the University of Massachusetts, and you know, it all goes hand in hand. And it's nice to see that sort of thing, because you see all on the news all that down stuff of this kid's not doing that and so on and so forth. So high school sports is still a nice place to go spend $2 and an evening. It's not a bad piece of entertainment.
It certainly is, and I've gotten to know most of the kids that have played all the sports, and a great bunch, and they work hard, and they're seem to be gentlemen as they present themselves in society, and that's really nice to see. And again, as you just mentioned, a hockey game tonight right after the show, 8:30 start, Thornton and Shepherds, and that's a big game in Class B. We're seeing it again, and hopefully the Trojans can get that, because that's worth a lot of heel points for them too. And even though they're 6-1, they're still back in the heels a little bit, and they need to come up with some big wins. Coach Riley plays Coach Gagne plays Friday night, home, Massive Basic,
right. Yep.
And we'd love to see the fans keep coming out.
Yep.
There was a good number there last night, but we can still get more in the gymnasium to.
We got that extra bleacher we pull out.
Yeah, that's right. We got the stage. It's you know, if you can win a bunch in a row and really get up there, maybe we'll see those days, because I remember that when I was very young, when they used to open up the stage and put seats up there back in the Bob Warner days. But it's been exciting so far. I was very happy to see last year's success and be a part of it, and this year 5-3 and really looking strong, and hopefully you'll give them directions to pull and you'll lead them on in there to a tournament. That'll be the first in some 20 years too. Just congratulations, and thanks for stopping by again.
Thank you.
All right. Coach Marc Gagne, our guest this week, and thanks for joining us. We're here Wednesday nights at 6:30, and of course Sunday mornings before the game. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and keep supporting Thornton Academy Sports. We'll see you next week.